I'm Afghan Canadian. I'm a former refugee, but I still call myself a refugee because I still live like a refugee between many worlds. My family moved from Kabul, Afghanistan, just around the time of the withdrawal of the Soviet Union, and we lived in Pakistan as a refugee for a short period of time, then moved to Canada, so hence I'm an Afghan Canadian. I pretty much most of my education, post-high school, graduate, master's degree, have all been in Canada. I'm a journalist by profession. I segued into making films because I found journalism to be intriguing but not sufficient for what I wanted to explore. And I also write. I still work as a journalist, mostly with the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, whether radio or TV, mostly radio. I also make documentary films. I've done a couple of feature films. Look, I think in the West we have an idea that we think of freedom as a cause. For me, freedom is the outcome of the fulfillment of a human desire, and that in itself entails a struggle. The moment you begin to feel that you're free and you take it for granted, I feel that you no longer are free in my mind, and that's how I've lived my life. I feel that I have fought for my freedom and I will not give that away for anything in the world, in part because I lived in a society which was a police state, although nobody minded our dress, but yet our minds were controlled.
Afghanistan
during the Soviet occupation.
Right.
Then as well.
So that was the Soviet occupation, it was not the Taliban?
No. Then I went back and tried to understand life under the Taliban because I had a close friend that was living at the time and became depressed. And ever since as well, although we have this kind of a perception of Afghanistan, and I don't want to just concentrate on Afghanistan, I've also been living in different parts of the Middle East and I've been traveling a lot to Syria in the last several years, is that, and in Iran, for example, I had an artist friend who would put lipstick on in the morning, sit behind the wheel of a car, and she would turn to me and say, when I get to the first checkpoint, I know the guards are gonna stop me and ask me to wipe it. And I'd say to her, so why bother? This is a routine. And she'll say, just because I want to feel that I can still get to that point. It wasn't about wearing lipstick, it's just I don't want the cosmetic companies to get over excited. It's the point of it is that there is something inside us as human beings that wants us to be who we are. Now this is convoluted, layered, and constantly influenced by all the elements in our environment and society, education, political systems. But yet when you feel that you're denied something and you've been oppressed, you want to struggle. And it could be very small, and a small act like that, or it could be a bigger act of going out on the streets and demanding for something more and risking your lives. And so therefore I think, for me, freedom always is akin to the word of struggle and to fight for it, but not to think that it's just granted there, and just because it exists, therefore it's like in the air and we breathe it and therefore we're okay. I think it's not the freedom that is giving rise to these pseudo-fascism or right-wing movements. The more I think about it, in the past I used to think more about philosophy, I used to think about more ideals, and the last couple of years, the more I think about it, the more I think about economics. I think economics has a lot to do with the disparity that has come to become the new norm in our societies, in the prosperous West, the distribution or wrongful distribution of resources in the world. And I think what people are reacting to is fear of losing rather fear of freedom. And I would not define the rise of Trumps and acolytes and the rest of it, or the popularity of that movement or ideology, to the excessive freedom that we have. I would say you could attribute it to the death of democracy as we know it. You can attribute it to the challenges to the political systems that we need to actually, we have taken it for granted. But I wouldn't say that it's because there is too much freedom and that fear of that freedom that's been bringing this about.